Welcome back to the Mic Check Podcast. You are in the booth with Quentin. Wanted to get a chance to get on here and talk about some really big fights, one that has already happened, one that we're looking forward to that's going to be happening. But before we get into it, obviously, everybody knows that if you're watching, please make sure that you hit the subscribe, the like, and that share this video, along with the other ones that you guys may enjoy on our social media sites. Share with your friends, family, those who have not watched us before, as we are continuing to try to give you some of the best coverage we can on all the relevant topics that are not only boxing, but basketball and football as well when those seasons start to corner. So the fight that we're going to talk about is Naoya Inoue's 8th round stoppage victory over Stephen Fulton. He is now the unified featherweight champion, having won belts now. 2 belts, at the 122 pound division, previously in 3 divisions before that. So that makes him a 4-division champion. Holds the WBO as well as the WBC title that was previously held by Stephen Fulton in what turned out to be a pretty exciting fight, much more one-sided than I'm sure most people expected. But from the opening bell, it was a fight that a lot of people were looking forward to, but it was clear by about round 2 that Inoue just proved to be a level above Stephen Fulton. A lot before that fight happened thought that Fulton had a decent shot at winning this fight and putting himself onto the pound-for-pound list, because by most people's account, Naoya Inoue is a pound-for-pound top 5 fighter. I had him personally in my top 5 for quite a few months now. We're actually going to go over my previous pound list because it is going to see some major adjustments, not only from Naoya Inoue's win and becoming a world champion, a 2-time unified champion, but obviously the Terrence Crawford Spence fight that's going to be happening this weekend will play a factor into my pound for pound list for obvious reasons. Both of those guys are also in my top 10. But specifically speaking to the Fulton versus Inoue fight, by round 2, Fulton was having a lot of issues in the pocket. I mentioned this previous to happening that I thought Fulton had to keep the fight on the outside. I thought he had to use his length, his reach, and his jab from him to try to keep him at a safe distance where he could land punches where Inoue could not. Obviously, Inoue started at 108 pounds. He's listed at only about 5'5", and Stephen Fulton is 2.5 inches taller than him. So you would have expected that the height and reach would have been a major factor. Inoue proved to get rid of all of that very, very quickly. He got inside of Stephen's jab. He was actually countering Stephen's jab with overhand rights as well as hooks when Stephen would miss or owe it to his jab or to his own right hand, which he did not throw very many of, and for good reason. Inoue proved to me, at least, that he is an adept boxer, something that I already knew about him, but you always have that question in your back of your mind. When a guy moves up to a new division, will the power, the same speed, the same footwork, will it be effective against possibly better as well as possibly bigger and stronger guys? Going after the number 1 guy was super duper ambitious on Inoue's. Money talks. Inoue is a big draw. He's a big attraction in Japan, where this fight was held. Tuesday morning for us, Tuesday evening for them in Japan. And one of those fights where Stephen Fulton couldn't really say no because he was making 3 times probably what he will ever get paid for another fight in this division. Stephen Fulton typically has been making some close to $1 million, and I believe he's rumored to have made just over $3 million for this one fight against Inoue. That speaks to his drawing power. That speaks to the money behind him. And so obviously this was a fight that Stephen had to take. Excuse me. But all in all, I mean, Inoue was great with his footwork. He was great in his in and out game. He was awesome on the back foot when countering anything that Fulton was trying to do. He was really, really good with the the inside work. He was able to get to Stephen's body on a regular basis, which I said previous to this fight would be a key for Inoue to win, because we knew that Stephen was going to be a guy who wanted to box, who wanted to move, because he's not a power guy. And another guy is countering you because he's faster than you. That puts you in a precarious situation. And that's exactly what Stephen Fulton was in this fight. Ultimately, I had it a clean sweep through 6 rounds. I did not get Fulton until the 7th round, which I think was probably the only round that most people had in there. There was the 5th round that was fairly close because Stephen did land, I think, 2 pretty decent right hands that connected clean on Inoue. But I mean, Inoue was clearly the guy who was outworking, outpacing, out-jabbing, and outlanding to the body Stephen Fulton. That's just how this fight went. And by round 8, he quickly faced serious trouble with a counter right hand, really that put him in a bad position. He got knocked down, and then the fight stopped after, took an 8 count, and then Inoue swarmed him in the corner, and the ref stopped the fight from there. What was really interesting was that Inoue was repeatedly jabbing Fulton to the body, and that's ultimately what set up the KO punch, essentially, that sent Fulton to the ground the first time, which was the overhand right. And it's interesting because Fulton was hurt by an almost identical punch to that in a fight against Blue Nose Lopez, probably about 3 or 4 years ago. It was quite a while ago because these were fights that were on FS1. PBC typically used to do FS1 fights for smaller venues and smaller shows. Blue Nose Lopez landed a clean right hand on Stephen Fulton, and he had a very bad reaction to that. When I saw that clip about a day before the fight happened, I thought, Inoue also has a strong overhand right. That's probably the punch that lands that could be the definition of this fight, and it turned out ultimately that it was. Now, if we're going to go ahead and look here at what I had previous to this, this is a tweet that I put back at the very end of May. You guys can see the date there listed, May 29th, 2023, this year. This was my pound for pound list at that point. Now, I got a lot of flack. I got a lot of pushback from some people because I had Inoue listed as the #1 pound for pound guy at that point. He hadn't moved up to 122 yet. He hadn't beat Stephen Fulton to become another unified 2-time champion. But I thought, based on his resume previously, being ring champion 2 divisions, being a 3-division world champion, having just come off of being undisputed at 118 pounds, there was plenty of criteria there for me at that time to make him #1 over everyone else who I have on. You see my list at that point was Usyk, Canelo, Crawford, Bivol, Haney, Beterbiev, Spence, Jermell Charlo, and Josh Taylor. Obviously, there's going to be a lot of shaking up. I haven't updated this list because I knew that these couple of fights that were going to happen would majorly affect it. So I will be updating this and giving you guys an update on where I think all these guys rank based on the last 2 fights we're going to see this week. Inoue still holds strong to the #1 spot, but Spence and Crawford could have something to say about it. You guys make sure you do me a favor and make sure that you please go and you hit that like button, share, comment, and subscribe to our channel. Make sure that you all take a chance to look at some of the other content that's going to be on our channel here in the next couple of weeks. And for sure, make sure you look out for our reaction to not only this fight, but moving fights forward. Spence Crawford. We're going to talk about Anthony Joshua against Dillian White, the possibility of a Tyson Fury, Alexander Usyk fight, now that fight potentially could happen at some point next year. But you guys keep it locked here on the Mike Check Podcast. Thank you for listening. Peace and love.